Well, let's take a look at the shilling there. It's been trapped in a pretty tight range over the recent past, but there are pressure points to consider here. Do you see the central bank coming back into the market today and buying up unexpectedly large amounts of dollars?
Central bank has consistently been in the market buying dollars over the last couple of months, and the amount they bought last was not specifically large, because it was only $5 million more than they usually buy, because they usually buy $10 million when they come into the market. So probably, I think they just caught a market that was a bit nervous and a bit short of dollars, and so that exaggerated the move up, and it was also towards the end of the week, last week. But having said that, the shilling is also responding to international factors. It's a response to what happens in the markets out there. It also responds to the flows. Currently, we have the bonds that are going on. We have the Kenyan bond. We have the upcoming Safaricom bond, as you said. And from the figures that we're getting from the remittances abroad, we've seen the figures are not as bad as we would have expected with the global economic crisis. So having said that, the shilling will come under pressure from time to time based on supply and demand. But generally speaking, it has good support in as far as the flows are concerned. And central bank also needs to manage the monetary policies. So they need to come into the market from time to time to buy dollars and inject shillings. Yeah. And they also need to boost the reserves. So, but the factors currently are in support of the shilling, regardless of the blips up and down from time to time.
Well, what has certainly been getting attention is all the political noise we've seen emerge between Kenya and the US. Let's take a look at that situation and what you're making of the noises we're seeing on that front and how much political risk that actually poses moving forward.
I think the Kenyan economy and the financial markets has kind of shrugged off politics. There won't be much effect on politics going forward unless it goes to the extreme, unless the politics go to the extreme of what we have seen in the past, probably in the early 2008, which I do not expect. So the market has learned to ignore the politics, and we believe that is the way it will continue. Obviously, the markets need to see, that politics are going on well, but they will not significantly affect the market in as far as negative or positives are concerned.
Let's take a look at the tourism sector, because you mentioned remittances and the flows we're seeing from that regard, the fact that we have seen a large increase in volume on that front. Kenya's tourism sector has recovered as well, 90%, and is headed, some say, for full recovery this year. What are your expectations in terms of revenue that sector is set to bring in moving forward, thus providing some kind of additional support to the local unit?
The tourism sector has significantly, improved, as you said, compared to last year and the year before. That is suffice, the current global economic crisis. So assume we didn't have a global economic crisis, and assume we didn't have our political problems, we would be seeing, the targeted 3 million tourists that the government and the tourism board keeps targeting. But I think the revenue from that front are going to be significant, and considering where we are now, and we are heading to the tourism peak, we're actually in it now to the end of the year. So the flows from there, if going by what we have now continues, then they are likely to also give some support to the shilling and generally to the economy.
So there we have it, remittances, tourism inflows, and the effects of the bonds that we've seen come to the fore very, very quickly. Agricultural exports, wherein we've had our tea players really getting a lot of attention of late for the high prices they're able to fetch. Let's take a look, Bethuel, at that tea tourism sector within the agricultural sector. Are you expecting hefty inflows in that regard, given the fact that tea makers have been fetching considerably high prices?
The paradox in the tea sector is that we have experienced good prices when there is low supply, which is, obviously you would expect that. But we have seen that the prices have surpassed, the low supply that we have seen, and you've seen the bonuses that are being issued this year are pretty high. So we expect that if we continue having the tea prices up there in the next year, and we see the rains that are going to come towards the end of this year, we'll continue having more flows from the tea sector, and probably going into the next year. But it's also going to be supply and demand. If we have more tea, then the prices will come down, because I think it's more to do with the current drought and the economic and around the world.